among young think tankers from the Global South. We asked that these pitches feature practical and applicable solutions to increase and improve collaboration among young think tankers in the Global South. The prize, 3 winners will be selected to take part in the Southern Voice Conference taking place in October in Kenya this year, which we are very excited about. Now, we received almost 300 applications and had to dwindle it down to our final 10. We took into consideration gender balance and regional balance, and I must say we've got a great pool of finalists, each from 10 different countries in the Global South. So they bring their own spunk, their own tenacity, their own swagger. Can I say swagger? I'm going to say swagger to the contest. And so here we are today. But we did not leave them alone. They did not work in silos. In July, these participants had a peer review session in keeping with our motivation of increasing collaboration between young think tankers. Now, after that, they went off and they recorded their proposals and sent them through to our esteemed judges for the day. Now, I don't envy our judges because their pitches are really good. Speaking of judges, let's meet them, starting with our guests. We have Miss Sophia Borges. She is Senior Vice President at the United Nations Foundation. We have Ms. Gabrielle Andele-Kele, who is the first Vice President at the Aquarians. We have Dr. Vakar Ahmed. He is Joint Executive Director at the Sustainable Development Policy Institute in Pakistan. We have Mr. Enrique Mendizabal, who is our co-chair for this session. He is a founder and director on think tanks. And last but not least, we have Ms. Andrea Ordóñez, who is Executive Director here at Southern Voice. So, how has judging worked? It's going to take place in 2 stages. The first has already happened. Our contestants have submitted 3-minute videos that are in depth of their pitches that our judges have viewed and have made their decision on. But the second, that's taking place right now. So it really is anyone's game. I cannot tell you who's going to win. In a few minutes, our contestants will have the opportunity, our judges will have the opportunity to ask questions to our finalists who have worked very hard to make it this far. So without further ado, let's meet the stars of our show. I will begin in alphabetical order so that there is no bias. We have Aziza Fauzi, who is 25 years old, from the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies in Indonesia. We have Ayman Hadi, 33 years old, from Aachen University in Germany. He is from Yemen. We have Diego Peñaranda, who's 25, from Aru Foundation in Bolivia. We have Eliasu Ali, who's 28 years old, from Africa Center for Energy Policy in Ghana. We have Elvis Kipto, 30 years old, from the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis. We have Isabel Santos, 22 years old, from the Behavior Institutions and Public Policy Research Lab in Brazil. Then we have Ibrahim S. Bangura, who's 31 years old, from Future Leaders Initiative, Sierra Leone. We have Regan Mugume, who's 31 years old, from the Economic Policy Research Center in Uganda. Then last but not least, we have, not yet, we have Ronaldo Blake, who's 24, from the Caribbean Policy Research Institute in Jamaica. And last but not least, we have Sofia Fernandez Crepo, 28 years old, from CPEC in Argentina. Hello to our finalists. I wish you all the best today. Now that we've met our finalists, this is what will happen. In the same order that I announced them, they will have 30 seconds to provide a mini pitch of their idea. This pitch will not impact their final scores, but it will give us an opportunity to understand their pitches a little better. So for our finalists, I will wave this flag when you have 10 seconds left, and then I will raise it again when your time is up. Let me repeat that. When you have 10 seconds left of speaking, I will wave this flag, and when your time is up, I will raise it again. I hope you're feeling good. Can I get a show of thumbs? We're ready to go. I wish you all the best in alphabetical order. Let's get this show on the road. Aziza Fauzi, you are up first.
All right. Can I start?
Not yet.
All right. Okay.
1 second.
Okay.
Okay. Your time begins now.
To improve collaboration among young think tankers across the Global South, I propose to empower young think tankers in influencing agricultural policy through establishing a youth consultative body and a forum called Young Researchers for Future Agriculture in each developing country member. The proposed idea will be youth-led and serve to advocate and assist the government in formulating agricultural policies that highlight concerns of youth, using knowledge and best practices shared within members of the forum. This idea also opens up a chance for contribution to food security for a majority population of youth that are not working in the agricultural sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziza. I'll now hand over to our judges. If you have a question, please come to the fore.
Charlie, I can probably start with a question.
Yes, you can.
Aziza, we read with interest your proposal, and we know that you were also thinking about how to connect with the UN system and the global process. So if maybe you can elaborate a little bit more of how you thought that would happen.
So you're asking if the proposal is, how is it going to be carried out in the global level?
Yeah, how do you seek to engage at the global level?
Right, thank you so much for your question. So the idea of having the national and regional level of the conference is so that we can gain better ideas, a better understanding of the problem, challenges, concerns of the youth in each developing country member, as well as the regional. And then I propose to held the conferences in stages. So first it's going to be held nationally, nationwide, and then it's going to be held regionally, and then it's going to be held globally in where young think tankers from all over the global south can convene and then discuss, as well as seeking endorsement from the UN Secretary General. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
All right, do we have any other questions from the judges?
Charles, I have a question. This is Sophia.
Thank you.
Hi, Aziza. Thank you so much for your effort in pulling together this proposal and on an issue that is very important to all of us. And I had a question. There's this specific reference or emphasis on needing the endorsement of the UN Secretary General. Why is that necessary for you?
Thank you so much.
Is it a must-have for you?
Thank you so much. I think it's not a must-have, but this proposal, the activities that I propose through this proposal would greatly benefit from the endorsement of the Secretary General of the UN, because I know that the Secretary General of the UN can raise concerns of what issues that are critical. And I believe that ensuring food security is also critical, also in securing the world peace. So I think it is very important. It's not a must-have, but would be of a great benefit to the whole activities, and also so that the youth can have a bigger push on doing things. Thank you.
I have a question, please. I'm Gabrielle.
Okay, Gabrielle, we will take the last question for Aziza.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aziza, for your proposal. My question is, food security doesn't just concern the country of the South. How do you plan to achieve this if you envisage a Southern approach to food and security?
Sorry. Is that another question coming in, or?
No, I think it might be coming from external. If everyone could turn their
All right,
microphones off.
Sorry. So are you asking how are countries outside of the global south can be involved in this process? Is that correct?
No, I said that your proposal is focused on southern countries, but food security doesn't just concern the country of the south. So how do you plan to achieve your to achieve this if you just limit to the south country?
All right, thank you so much for your question. So I have seen that there are a couple of forums similar to this, but it's not highlighting the concerns of the global south. And I believe that the voices and concerns of the global south is highly important and crucial because we're among the biggest world's food producer. And at the same time, we're facing a lot of challenges in terms of climate crisis as well as declining production. So while I do agree that it's not just the problem of the global south, but our voices, the global south voices, are highly important in this. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Aziza. We're going to hand over to the next person, which is Ayman Hadi. Ayman Hadi, if you could come to the fore, I will let you know when your time begins.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you very much.
Sensational. Your time begins now.
So my idea is establishing the Global South Young Think Tankers Network, or what I call All Voices Against Next Pandemic. And it has three objectives: influence international debates and policies, new South to South and triangular partnership, and foster the diverse contextualized solution. This will be supported through four main categories of interventions: input, that is mapping; process, that is networking, capacity building, and resource mobilization; output, that's data, policies, publication, and evaluation; and finally, environment, that is a dedicated portal internet. Thank you very much.
Great, good job, Ayman. I'd like to hand over now to our judges. I'll start with Enrique to lead the questions. You can begin.
Thank you, Ayman. I had a question when actually looking at your pitch and others, the pitch of others, is whether some of these initiatives could be delivered in modules. So one of the questions is about the feasibility and the development of these ideas, and of course delivering the whole thing can be quite challenging. So I wonder what you think about a module-based or an incremental process for development, and what would you think would be the most important aspects of your proposal that you'd say needs to come first?
Yes, thank you. That's a very important question, because I based my pitch in two main modules. The first one called the Dunabedian model, that is going through input, process, and output. And the second one is the Deming cycle, or the plan, do, check, and act. So this is the two main models that will be influencing our or my proposal. Yes, I think that's answering your question.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from our judges?
Maybe if I can ask Mr. Hadi about one of the things that I note about his proposals is the breadth of issues that he's pitching. So COVID is one. You also mentioned climate change. Then you also hinted towards globalization. So I was just wondering if it would have made sense to maybe pick one of the issues, and then would have gone deeper into looking at instruments of, let's say, South-South cooperation, how they can sort of allow for learning around one specific subject, not 3 or 4, and then utilize those tools such as the virtual meetings and others, So just wanted to know your thoughts. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. That's very interesting. Notice what I built on my proposal on is just not only pandemic, COVID pandemic and the global change, climate change, and also the globalization, because it's based on the Sustainable Development Goals, all of them. It's like a holistic, systematic approach that will allow think tanks mapping and then going into each of the Sustainable Development goals to achieve those goals. So, and when I mentioned pandemic and climate change and globalization, because those are cross-cutting with all the sustainable development goals. It's not one issue. For example, health is affected by the first one. It's affected by education. It's affected by hunger. It's affected by the climate change. So that's what I meant by this. But I mentioned those 3 because they are the main hot topics nowadays. Thank you. I hope this is answering your question.
Perfect. Well done. Thank you so much, Ayman. I will move on to the next person on our list, if there are no more questions from our judges. And that would be Diego Peñaranda from Bolivia. I'll let you know when your time begins.
Great.
Okay, your time begins now.
Okay, thank you, Charles. My idea for this pitching contest was motivated, I think, mainly by the fact that there are currently not many collaborative opportunities available to us young think tankers in the Global South and in general. And I think especially horizontal collaboration at the YTT level is pretty scarce. So in light of this, my idea is basically to create a new website and mobile app where young think tankers from the Global South link up with other young researchers. They find common ground, form teams for potential research opportunities, and then go through a rigorous selection process to apply to research grants coming from the UN Office for Youth to carry out said research. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Diego. I'll hand over now to our judges for your questioning.
I'll start, Diego. In your proposal, you also mentioned the need for mentoring and mentorship for young think tankers, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think is a good profile for the type of mentors that young think tankers need, or that you would seek to get involved?
Great, thank you for the question. I think the mentoring part of the pitching idea came from the fact that you have all these young think tankers connecting with one another from different parts of the Global South, right? And so once they form teams, they can have contact at the organizational level from their respective think tanks. So then I think you have this very strong bond between 2 totally different think tanks from 2 very different countries. And I think that's one potential way to form these mentors and young think tankers like relationships. If you have an expert in any subject, in a macroeconomic subject, in one think tank from one side of the world, and that think tank is collaborating with another think tank that has a young researcher that wants to learn about that macroeconomic subject, I think it would be foolish not to take advantage of that situation and have the knowledge from that mentor go into the young researcher. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. If there are any other questions from the judges?
Charles, Sophia here. Oh,
yes.
Go ahead, Enrique. I can hold. You're on screen.
Oh, okay. Well, I was curious about. Thank you, Diego. I was curious about the app, and I think you're not the only one who's suggesting an app. And I sort of always ask myself, and I like to ask you and the other finalists, and as a reflection, why do you think there isn't an app already for this? So I if this is if the solution is something that we find commercially, what do you think has sort of kept others from designing this app? You know, what have you and your colleagues sort of seen that offers an opportunity?
Great, thank you. I think there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, I think this effort overall represents a sort of a new, a new effort in trying to get the opinion and voices of young think tankers, especially from the global south, getting their voices heard. I think it's not like a commercial initiative, so I don't think maybe if just like the private sector in some random country wanted to do this, I think maybe it wouldn't be the most financially viable option. I think this is not necessarily motivated by that aspect, like the financial aspect. And I think also besides the fact that this is sort of this new effort, I think it also has to do with the fact that in these last few years, I think this approach of hearing young think tankers' voices, young researchers' voices, has also been on the rise in the UN, in think tanks, and in general in other organizations. So I think this is also sort of like a new pattern that's emerging, and I think that's why maybe now is the right time to go ahead with an initiative like this.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Diego. Sophia, you had a question. We still want to hear it.
Yes, thank you so much, Diego. And it was similar to Enrique's question, and it comes down to the financing piece. I know you say that it's not for profit, but these things cost. And I wonder whether you had thought about that in terms of, scoping. Where would you tap in, and how would you tap into existing resources to be able to deliver on something like this?
Thank you. It's a very important question, of course. I think the main part of the answer would be basically related to the UN Office for Youth. I think that's basically like the missing piece that was lacking, as like I was saying before. Maybe if someone tried to make the app, it maybe wouldn't have been very profitable, but that's where the UN Office for Youth comes in, I think, because that gives us funding opportunities that otherwise maybe wouldn't be available. So I think that channel is the main financing channel, which could grant this whole idea certain sustainability over time to make it actually work.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Sophia. Eliasu is up next. So get ready. I'll let you know when your time begins. But to our viewers, if you have any questions or any comments that you want to make, be sure to put them in the chat section or use the hashtag YoungThinkTankers on X or Twitter, just as a reminder. Eliasu, I hope you're doing well. Your time begins now.
All right. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My idea is fundamentally a movement of young think tankers collaborating and pushing for the inclusion of youth voices in global policy dialogue. To achieve this, the main channels of collaboration are two. One, a digital interactive platform where young think tankers have profiled existence and are able to collaborate real time. And then an innovative fiscal convening in the form of an annual conference that actually is themed around conversation on the platform that climaxes with an issues paper that collates the views of young think tankers at the end of the year and then pushed through to ensure that these are considered in global policy dialogue. That is fundamentally what my idea is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliasu. I will now hand over to our judges. I believe it's Andrea who will be asking the first question.
Thanks, Eliasu, for your proposal. As part of your conference and the work that you're proposing, you also want to publish some joint work among young think tankers. So I just wanted you to add a bit more of how do you think this joint work to produce such a paper could work in practice?
Yes. Yes. So essentially, the joint work, as I indicated briefly, is themed around the conversations that emerge from discussions on the platform in terms of the issues being raised from different contexts by young think tankers interacting on the platform. And then a topic is agreed upon, which is further discussed at the in-person annual conference. And then the young think tankers volunteer to be part of the drafting committee, who then drafts it, and then it is reviewed by all members, which is then pushed through the United Nations Youth Office for more reach and visibility, and also to ensure that they are adopted by the relevant global policy authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilyasu. I see Enrique has his hand up, so I'll give him the floor.
Thank you, Ilyasu. Lower my hand. So again, a question following the idea of having an interactive platform similar to the app, and I think this is a question for all of us to reflect on. But one of the main challenges of any website, any platform, is to attract users, right? And to keep them there. What does your suggestion? What do you offer participants to make sure that that is where they're going to go, and not to already existing spaces where academic work is shared or where they can interact with peers?
Yeah. So imagine a platform where you can just get on, and then you are able to click on a list of young think tankers and other experts within the space, within the civic space, across various research themes, where you can simply click on a profile and then reach out to discuss about a research topic, which has actually been uploaded through a tab, an abstract of which actually exists, where they can review it. And also, once an abstract or a piece that calls for collaboration is uploaded, you are able to send a message across the platform, which actually pops up in their emails for them to check up and see whether it is something that they'll be interested in. And then also at the end of the week, there'll be a weekly newspaper that goes across for everybody to see what has been happening on the platform, what emerging topics have been discussed. I think this is what would ensure that the interactions keep on going, and for people that would otherwise not log in, may find something interesting from the weekly updates to actually get engaged on the platform.
Thank you very much, Ilyasu. Yes, I hear a question coming.
I have a question for Ilyasu. I'm Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle.
How many members will make up the working group responsible for setting up the startup branch? And how will think tank members be chosen?
Yes. So actually thought about the idea of a working group to ensure that from the onset, the fine-tuning of the concept and also the thinking process around the whole organizational structure. And I say organizational structure because this is a movement of young think tankers, and every movement should have leadership. So the working group is very critical from the onset in ensuring that this works properly. So the membership of the working group would be open to all members, all member think tanks of the Southern Voice, as well as seeking representation from the United Nations Youth Office. This is critical for this idea because the United Nations Youth Office actually has a roster of experts across various themes whose ideas we believe would be very instrumental in setting up this. So Precisely, the membership of the working group would comprise of the young think tankers across the member think tanks within the Southern Voice Network, and also representation from the United Nations Youth Office. In the event that the membership becomes very big out of increased interest in being part of the working group, there are always very democratic processes of ensuring that we scale it down to a practicable number of members to make it more practicable to implement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilyasu. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next participant. Our next participant is Alvis Kipto from Kenya. I'll let Alvis appear on my screen before I give him his time. Alvis, your time begins.
Let us imagine a world where young think tankers seamlessly collaborate to shape sustainable development in the global south. I'm introducing a young think tankers virtual research hub. The virtual platform will foster collaboration, knowledge sharing, and mentorship for the young think tankers. With user-friendly design and modules on peer review and mentorship, the platform will empower young think tankers to enrich policy making for a prosperous global south. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alvis. I'll hand over now to our judges. I think we haven't heard from Dr. Bakar yet, so I'll begin with you.
Yes, I was just looking to discuss or maybe find out from you that have we done some sort of due diligence around the other platforms that are out there to provide research support to young researchers? Because there are some platforms that do provide some of these things, such as peer review, mentoring, hand-holding. So looking at this, you know, one would just like to discuss how would this idea be different from the existing efforts? If you could shed some light on this, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Bakar. I think the existing platforms are not tailored to young think tankers specifically, and most of them are so academic. So this one will provide a platform for the young think tankers specifically in the Southern Voice Network. Yeah.
Elvis.
Is this Gabrielle?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Elvis. Beyond the platform, how do you plan to connect young people for Southern think tank?
Pardon, to collect?
To connect.
Okay, the platform will have several modules. For example, there's the collaboration workspace. And on this workspace, the young think tankers will be recruited from the member think tanks, and then they will be matched based on their research interests. And then after they have been matched together, they can maybe work on projects, maybe to respond to call for proposals together. And so we will match them through their research interests.
Do you plan to meet in person or just via platform?
No, this is a virtual research app. It's virtual.
Okay, thank you very much. I see a hand raised by Mr. Enrique, so I'll give him the floor.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Elvis. Again, I think this is a question, and it's aimed at other candidates. You raised the issue of mentorship. We've actually been doing a bit of research on mentorship programs, and we've put together a short background out, and we'll see about sharing those lessons. And one of the things we found, which is interesting, is that we often don't think about, is that mentorship tends to be an additional. So in the world of think tankers, we know that sort of senior think tankers are quite busy. Experienced think tankers are very busy, especially female think tankers. You know, women in think tanks, you know, have additional burden outside of the office, and there's always demand for more women, senior women think tankers to support, you know, younger think tankers, especially women as well, and, you know, from any other minorities or disadvantaged groups. So one of the big challenges I find with mentorship programs is that it's hard to get people who are already quite busy to do this. How do you how would you motivate? How would you create that space and that time and that value for more experienced think tankers to offer their time to the younger generation?
I think to motivate the think tankers, we'll need to convince the members of the Southern Voice Network, maybe to nominate some of them, and then maybe a proposal to maybe have a remuneration for them to just to motivate them. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Elvis. I'll move on to our next contestant, which is Isabel Santos, who's 22 years old from Brazil. Isabel, I hope you're ready. I'll let you know. Your time begins now.
Well, hello everyone. Youth Exchange 2030 is a digital app that allows young researchers to collaborate beyond borders and advance the SDGs. Our digital app connects brilliant minds, matching them based on research interests and goals. So whether you are looking for workshops, training, or collaboration, our search engine got you covered. We exist to promote policy innovation.
And there's no my the West, which is also there. And then I think that I just want you to know the river
I'd like to remind everyone, if you could keep your cameras on mute. Isabel, I don't know if you were done or if I should let you start again, just so that you can finish your pitch in peace. Okay, so I'll let you know that your time begins again now. I think you're on mute.
Can you listen to me now? Okay, so
yeah, we're good.
Okay, so Youth Exchange 2030 is a digital app that allows collaboration among researchers beyond borders and to advance the SDGs. Our digital app connects brilliant minds, matching them based on interests, research interests, and common goals. And we supporting you and find workshops, training, and opportunities for collaboration through our search engine. So we believe in promoting policy innovation through collaboration. That's the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to our judges to begin the questions.
Yeah, maybe I could ask one question, you know, that and that's more around the proof of concept. Have we actually studied that how easy or difficult it is to sort of sustain an app like this? For example, where would sustained content be coming from over, let's say, 1 year time period or 3 year time period, you know? And then, of course, keeping teams together who would be sort of actually updating the app, managing the app, moderating the content, you know. So are there examples where such apps have actually remained around for long?
Yes, I see that sustaining the app has 2 key points that are engagement and financial. So starting by engagement, we focus on some key features to maintain engagement that are the CDG focus. So everyone in the platform know that once they enter in the platform, they are going to be having personalized matchmaking. So you are find some common interests. We also work with gamification elements. So the more you engage in the platform, you as a user receive some badges, to an acknowledgement to keep contributing. And in terms of the financial aspect, I thought about a business model that doesn't represent a cost for the user, because I know some users from the global south are already in vulnerable conditions. So I was thinking about in terms of financial in sponsorships. For example, we have a feature called the announcement board, where universities or think tanks can talk about events they're promoting, exchange programs opportunity. So maybe I thought about working with an ad system, to provide financial resources to sustain all this team that will be doing the moderation, that will be building the app. And we also count with the UN support. I understand that having a prepared team to realize this kind of work demands a lot of skills. So maybe we could tap into UN expertise to capacitate and to promote, skills and acknowledgement for these moderators. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. I know we have a question from Ms. Sophia, so I'll hand over to her now.
Thank you, Isabel. My question is one about just the feasibility in terms of parts of the global south, the issue that's a problem in my country as well, connectivity. If you have an app, you need to be able to be connected. How do you address those to ensure that those that don't have connectivity are included and are able to access?
I stopped listening to Sophia. It's just me, or?
Yes, it was. I'm not sure if you heard my question, Isabel.
Can you repeat, please?
So the question was around connectivity. Those in the global south where access to internet is difficult or at times very spotty. How do you ensure inclusion of those researchers, young think tankers that are out there that are not necessarily able to use the app for obvious infrastructure reasons?
Well, thank you for your question. This is great. Our app is designed with inclusivity in mind. So we thought about offline capabilities. We are considering there are people in underserved areas or where internet access is difficult. So the app has the possibility of offline access. You can download, for example, you have internet access for 10 minutes in another city. You can download valuable resources such as training modules, research materials, and event details. So later on, when you are with the app, you can check on these valuable resources. I know there is a limitation. I know there are regions that people even don't have a cell phone or other digital resources. And we also thought about in terms of community building and making connections go beyond the digital realm. So we plan to work with localized content, partnership with local think tanks, and maybe use the resources that we have in research centers, to talk about these possibilities that we offer in the app, the opportunities that are in the app, and to disseminate this idea. I see the think tanks and the centers, the physical centers I'm talking about, as also a channel between the app and the people. Because as people exchange and communicate, I see that they can start making this communication and this exchange go to real life. And I also see the app as a chance for not only connecting with people in other countries, in other continents, but maybe realizing opportunities near to you that you might be not aware of. So I see that advocacy has an important role in making the app function for these vulnerable people that has no access to technology. There is maybe through advocacy we can talk more about collaboration with people in our regions. I would like that through the UN support we could have advocates that are disseminating some of the discussions we are making in the app. for example, CDG awareness. I see there are a lot of people working towards the CDGs that are not aware of it. And maybe having people that have access to the platform that could disseminate those messages maybe in their communities and this place where technology cannot reach, it would be a possibility. And that's what I envision, like in the time of 3 years or maybe 5 years after user engagement.
Thank you so much, Isabel. I see we have one question that's been up for a while. Gabrielle will have our last question before we hand over to Ibrahim.
Thank you. Isabel, how do we cross the bridge from simple research to research results that are used by decision makers to involve those young researchers from the start in decision making and the formulation of inclusive and sustainable public policies?
Oh, thank you for your question, Gabrielle. I think there are 2 points for answering this question. First of all, the process of collaboration in relation to research starts by realizing that maybe are other solutions, other methodologies, and other possibilities to collaborating to promote the CDGs. Our algorithm-driven approach is specifically thought to reach these issues. Maybe there are some possibilities of collaboration, for example, CDG4 and CDG8. Maybe you think that there's a research thinking about other issue, and maybe you would not connect with him, but the app shows you that there's a possibility. And I see that through collaboration, you can see different ways to solve challenges you have in your territory. And that's the first point, to change the mindset of the researchers, on how to solve policy issues. And I see that the connection between think tanks as a channel for policy transfer and for policy diffusion. But all this knowledge that is generated through exchange needs a space, a space for visibility. And in order to this knowledge and to this evidence-based policy to reach reality and to shape policy. And when I say shape policy, I'm not only talking about decision makers, I'm talking about the private sector, civil society. So I see that our app is the first step in connecting researchers and to making the shift in policy production and thinking related to policy. But we need some of the UN support. I see that maybe we could tap into UN expertise to offer learning resources for these researchers, because sometimes I think that this might be lacking in their communities, or maybe some knowledge that could improve the user experience and improve collaboration. And I see that it could be great if the UN support could come in form of visibility. For example, there is a paper that was generated through collaboration in the app. And this paper is aligned with the CDG, so it would be great if, for example, in an intergovernmental forum, these researchers could have visibility to talk about these issues, how they see their researching impacting reality, what are the findings of the research, how could it be integrated to policy? So I think there are these 2 steps. Okay, so first, collaboration, changing the way we think, expanding our possibilities to do research and to build policy, and then giving visibility in the research to the research through the UN system. That's it.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to hand over to Ibrahim Eswangura from Sierra Leone. We're about to enter our last few contestants. So Ibrahim, I'll let you know when your time begins once you appear on my screen. Okay, your time begins now.
All right. Okay. I hope you all can hear me. Yes. So I'm an advocate for children, women, and girls with a key focus on ending violence while promoting education. So my idea is around empowering collaborative networks, strengthening partnership among young think tankers from the global south. This is to address the challenges faced by young think tankers when it comes to partnership and networking, effective networking, with the goal to unlock their, with the goal to unlock their untapped potential. So this is the reason why this proposal is came up is because despite the valuable insight and the knowledge this young think tankers possesses, they often encounter limitations when it comes to partnership, when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to having a network that can all these young people can join together and work as a team. So this idea is to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I will now hand over to our judges. I see Gabrielle has her hand up.
Thank you, Ibrahim. What criteria will you use to select the first 20 African countries, and why this quota?
Come again.
What criteria will you use to select the first 20 African countries, and why this quota?
All right. So we know while we are trying to bring something sustainable and something effective that will benefit all of the Global South think tankers. This has to do with bringing up application. We are inviting countries to apply, and yes, we are going to have a system where we're going to select this 20 countries that really really meet the criteria of this partnership or collaboration. So we're going to use the already existing media, so social media to share this forms and say, okay, we're inviting applicants from 20 African countries to see how they can bring their energies, their voices, their talents, in addressing a certain issue. By when they apply, then they can be scrutinized, and yeah, it's very important to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Gabrielle.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
I see there's a hand raised by Ms. Sophia.
Yes, sorry, Charles, I jumped in, but thank you so much, Ibrahim, for your presentation. I had similar questions about the criteria and how you would decide once the applications came in. There's that piece of it, but I just wondered whether you had thought about how you tap into existing structures, especially in the African context, the African Union. How would you collaborate or use that structure to support you in this, in the connections and the development of this?
Yeah, so that's why the whole idea tackles like education, decent work, gender equality and inequality and partnership. So this can only be executed through by partnership, and UN can if we are going to for example, we have for the first year we sending out applications for African countries or 20 African countries to apply, then we can send a proposal to the UN and say this is what we want to bring up, and we express ourselves in that proposal and send it to the UN, and then they can see how they can bring on board their expertise, to make this happen. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you very much. In the absence of more hands, I'll move on to our next contestant, who is Regan Mugume from the Economic Policy Research Center in Uganda, who's 31 years old. Regan, I hope you're ready. Your time begins now.
Thank you so much, Charles. My proposal looks at how youth think tankers in the global south can collaborate along working positive. And here we're looking at why working groups, because working groups are able to gather like-minded think tankers based on their specialty.
I think we lost you for a second. So could you start again? We lost you for a second.
Sorry, my connectivity, I'm in the field. So my proposal looks at how young think tankers in the global south and in the global north can be able to leverage working groups to foster a sustainable policy impact. And here we are looking at working groups that are able to gather like-minded think tankers based on their specialties and in their niches, be it research, communication, outreach. They are working along the policy cycle to provide sustainable policy impact. I'm looking at 4 working groups: research and evidence, communication and outreach, political advocacy, and training and capacity building. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Regan. I'll hand over to our judges. Yes,
thank you. Yes, thank you, Regan. I appreciate your proposal. Sorry, I had it open and I wanted to reference it. But and something that I was interested to find was that you were using the policy cycle as a connecting thread throughout the experience, in a way, of the working group. And I think that's a good idea, to have something that connects participants. However, we know from experience that the policy cycle, it's good for theory, but not necessarily for practice, right? Our policymakers don't always follow the steps. What do you think about this? So how would the reality of policymaking that doesn't necessarily follow those steps affect the method you would use for the working groups?
Yeah, thank you so much, Enrique, for that very important question. Yeah, I agree with you that not all countries follow the conventional policy cycle, but still we will leverage the working groups, because you'll find that whereas some policies processes in some certain countries start at problem identification and jump stages of formulation, still working groups are able to leverage the researchers in the stages that are relevant, and therefore they have that capacity to be able to bring and pull young researchers to be able to contribute. Yes, there are some countries that do not, that jump certain stages, but still bringing like-minded researchers is very critical, so that they can be able to leverage the spaces that are available, and to also work with government officials, government policy lawmakers. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Regan. I don't see any more questions from our judges, so I'll move on to our next person, who is Ronaldo Blake. When you appear on my screen, I'll let you know when your time begins. Okay, I'm ready. I hope you're ready. Your time begins now.
Thank you. My idea is for the establishment of an international council of youth researchers. This would essentially be led by an elected secretariat and would serve as a network that allows youth researchers to collaborate by sharing data and expertise, and occasionally doing joint research. Membership would be open to youth researchers in various institutions across the globe, and this organization would partner with other CSOs and NGOs such as Southern Voice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronaldo. Well done. I'll now hand over to our judges for questioning. If there are any questions.
I have a question. This is Sophia. Thank you, Ronaldo. Yes. It's a very grand idea, an international youth council. Just wondering how you've thought about how you end up bringing the membership together, because it would be a highly competitive. And I'm just wondering, when you have institutions like that, it can get quite messy. And sitting in New York and seeing how it plays out at the UN, I'm just wondering how you manage for that and why start so big, right?
So I think with something like this, it's important that we cast our net far and wide, which is one of the reasons why I think membership should be open to as many youth researchers as possible. So not just limited to think tanks, but also people who are doing research in government or in like universities. And I think this can really help, since in maybe like the first couple of years, it's unlikely that this will be something that's extremely popular. Try to get as many interested people on board as possible. And then from there, you start to build buy-in, you start to build your capacity to work together as a network and to reach out and collaborate with other groups and other young peoples. So I think while it certainly would be difficult, I do think it's possible, especially once we have support from groups such as Southern Voice or the UN Envoy on Youth.
Thank you. I just had a follow-up because you used the word network, which to me conjures up a more loose kind of membership to one of a council that's elected. How do you reconcile those two ideas?
So the idea is that there would be an elected secretariat that essentially functions as a nexus, bringing people together and stimulating the avenues for collaboration. But the general members of the council would be persons who are more loosely affiliated, and there are different types of collaboration that could occur. So on one level, you could have people who are trying to connect with each other simply because they're trying to get access to data that they can't otherwise access. But on another level, you could have a situation where the council makes available a call for a proposal that's being published by some organization, and then persons who are part of the network that are interested in working together on this proposal would essentially like come together and decide to maybe submit a proposal.
Okay, I see one more question. That'll be our last question for Ronaldo. That's from Ms. Gabrielle.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronaldo. Do you really think it's possible to organize elections and set up this council with a simple call for candidates?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do you really think it's possible to organize elections and set up this council with a simple call for candidates?
Right, thank you. I do think it is possible, but in the case where it's proving too difficult, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have election when the body's just being set up. I think what's important is that we get some key stakeholders in place that involve youth think tankers that decide, well, this group will lead the council for now, and then at some point in the future, we'll establish elections. But I do think it's possible because once you do get an initial list of persons who are interested in the idea, and you get those people having a conversation, then a discussion can be had about who you actually want to take leadership. And of course, I think the best way to go about making those decisions is through a democratic process. Thank you.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Ronaldo. We have now moved on to our last contestant before she comes up. I would like to remind everyone that you can send your questions or comments through to our contestants in the chat section, and we will hand it to them in a second. But Sophia, it is your turn to say your mini pitch. You have appeared on my screen. Your time begins now.
Hi there. Okay, so my proposal consists of a global youth summit, which is a 2-day in-person event inspired by the Model UN, where the key point is to reunite young think tankers from the global south who will be expected to work collaboratively in groups and develop a policy proposal to address a sustainable development goal, which will be assigned to each group.
Before I even lifted my flag again. Thank you so much, Sophia. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to our judges. I haven't heard from Dr. Bakar in a while, so I think I'll begin with him and then the rest can chime in.
Yes, I was just interested in it's a specific SDG around which we can sort of center, or if a specific SDG can act as an anchor maybe for this effort.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. When I thought about this proposal, the main point of the Youth Summit is that they each young think tanker present their research and advocacy agenda. Like there's a main stage where the young think tankers get to know each other, and they get to know each other of their respective work. So the groups will be assigned with themes of interests and like the common themes and subjects they have their research on. So the working groups will be assigned like SDGs according to their research agenda. Of course, we can anchor the Global Youth Summit to some key SDGs, but I think this is a more effective way to match each think tank agenda with the SDGs. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you. Do we have any more questions from our judges?
Gabriel.
I see two. Okay. I'll start with Mr. Enrique, and then I'll hand over to Gabriel.
Thank you, Sophia. No.
Wait, you can, we'll start with Mr. Enrique.
Okay, sorry.
We'll get to chat.
First, and then Gabriel. No, it's okay.
Yeah, so sorry, Gabriel. Thank you, Sophia. So the question I have is, you mentioned that the space, a similar space exists already. And I was wondering, again, question for you, but it might be relevant to others. If similar spaces exist already, why not embed the idea of young think tankers in those spaces? You know, do you think that your model could be adapted for that, where if there is already a gathering of young people in you know, around the world, surely there are some think tankers in that space. You know, why not start with them in that space that already exists and has taken care of the logistics for you, and then maybe see if it's worth splitting up from it.
Okay, thank you, Enrique, for your question. I think it's a great aspect of the proposal that it's flexible. I mean, I think we can adapt the youth summit, but I'm not sure there are a lot of summits that include specifically the Global South youth's voice and an outlook on policy. But I think one of the unique things of this summit is that it can be adapted to another format. I had thought of a partnership system to make it feasible, like in a financial way. So the enterprises or international corporation that want to support and contribute to this summit being possible will be, you know, will have their logos shown, will appear on the websites, on the outreach strategy. Their logos will be appearing on the final report, which will compile the proposals for from each group. But yeah, totally. We can scale up on pre-existing initiatives, like a pilot, and then you know, repeating it or doing another edition. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you, Sophia. My question is, how do you plan to continue thinking between summits?
Okay, thank you for your question. Well, I have been giving the proposal a thought after recording the video and on these days. And I think a great way to foster the dialogue afterwards will be you know, getting together in a virtual way and applying, like the think tanks applying to I don't know, like the T20 or the G20 spaces, like to encourage them to keep on working together and presenting recommendations in global forums or key spaces of decision taking to encourage this aspect of advocacy.
Okay, thank you so much, Sophia. I'm letting the other Sophia, to both Sophias, the last question before we go for our judgment. So if you can make it very brief, that'd be great.
Thank you. And it's a beautiful name, Sophia. Sophia. Thank you for your presentation. Enrique mentioned that there are, the issue of existing platforms and mechanisms. I'm thinking the ECOSOC Youth Forum, which is designed precisely for that, right? How do you tap into that so that it actually becomes more impactful and sustainable, etc.? The other thing I was thinking about too is, one of the issues that youth complain about is youth talking to youth all the time. And it's not getting into the rooms where decisions are being made. So why would a youth summit have impact? If you create something quite separate, I'm wondering, what about the high-level political forum, which is already a pre-existing mechanism where it draws in all sorts of stakeholders, leaders, whether government, civil society? How do you see that? I mean, if you were to rethink your strategy, how would you tap into these mechanisms?
Okay, thank you, Sophia, for your question. I was thinking some different strategies to tap on these pre-existing initiatives. And one was inviting key decision makers or key players to the Global Summit to come to get the message across. Another idea would be to present the final report to key players such as, the president of the World Bank or the 10 most important multilateral banks at a global level, and another multi-stake players. And then, for example, handing in as well the final report with all the proposals to key forums such as the UN Assembly, the Conference of Parties, like to really encourage the youth being included in these spaces and not being a silo and yes, not being like sorry, I cannot come up with a word, but joining these efforts and the youth being represented and not only like developing and designing policy proposals. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you to both Sophias. Okay, so that was our last contestant. Their last is our judges are going to enter breakout rooms where they will make their final decision, and they'll return and they will give us our winners. So to our judges, you know the drill. After a pandemic, you definitely do. So you'll have an invitation, at which point you are able to leave the room. But before we had started our session, we asked if there were any questions that you might have for any of the contestants. And so now would be the time to do it. If there is something you'd like to ask them, I saw that there was one about Isabel's pitch that had to do with liking the idea of almost like matching like a dating app. So please feel free to send through your questions. For future competition, more about your opinions, where you're watching from, so that when we have our next one, if it does happen, then it'll be better than the one before. So you'll see a survey pop up on your screen. And if you could just fill in that survey as I read through some of these comments. Great. Thank you all so much. I submitted my poll. I hope you did as well. Now, in an attempt to get to know our participants a little better, we'd asked them to fill in their a little bit of a survey, a little bit outside of the regular schmegular spiel of research and what research is about. And I'd like to call Diego up to the fore for a split second, because I think one of his answers was kind of interesting. We asked for a book recommendation, and Diego recommended a film that he would want people to watch. I'm going to pass this over to Diego for a second. Yeah, instead of a book, you suggested a film that people should watch. If you could just tell us a little bit more, or why it is that you enjoyed the film so much.
All right, Charles. Well, first of all, I I didn't think that only books. The question was aimed at only giving out recommendations for a book. I thought it was all kinds of media. But yeah, the film I recommended was A Beautiful Mind. I think it's because, well, my background is in economics, and I remember I watched that film about the Nobel Prize winning economist before I studied economics, and I found it just amazing. Aside from the fact that the film is very well made, I think you gain an insight into sort of economics and especially game theory, which I think years from that moment I still remember very, very fondly.
That's great. Thank you so much. Someone else that I think could share a little bit of light outside of the research field could be Aziza Fauzi, if she could come to the fore. Aziza, my question has totally nothing to do with research. Mine has to do with getting to know you just a little bit better. What do you like to do for fun? And please don't say something that has to do with research.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for the question. I guess I love to cook, and I also love to eat. So maybe, I mean, like if we wanted to relate back to my pitch, that's why it's also because of that's why I also discussed food security, I guess. Other than that's being part of my daily job, I enjoy food so much. I cook and bake mostly. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I think it's something that we have that in common for sure. A love for food and a love for eating. Speaking of food, let's bring Ronaldo up. Let's bring Ronaldo to the fore. Ronaldo, if in terms of food, a food recommendation. Oh, I think you lost me for a second. But if I had to ask you for a food recommendation, what would it be?
I would probably say you should have jerk chicken with festivals, and festivals are like some very tiny little fried sugar dumplings with like a red stripe beer. I think you can never go wrong with that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's perfect. That is absolutely sensational. Now, for everyone else, to our audience, to get back to our pitching contest, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and I think it takes more than a village, just about more than a village, to raise a pitching contest. So to give us a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it's been like putting this whole thing together, I'd like to bring up my colleague Gitika Kanduja. Gitika, how are you doing today?
Hi everyone. Hi Charlie. I'm doing great, and I'm really happy that every contestant has given their mini pitches, and the contest has come to a close, successful close, I must say. So congratulations to everyone, all the finalists.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Gitika, I just want to know, we're here today. I know you've been working very, very hard. So if you could just give us a bird's eye view, what motivated this contest?
So I guess youth inclusion of youth voices, their participation in the global development agenda has been a priority for many years now for the UN system, for the global development discourse as in general. But being a think tank network, Southern Voice has been very, strongly saying this, that the young think tankers especially should have an active participation in shaping the policy discourse at all levels, be it regional, national, or international. So with that idea in mind, and also in the background, with the UN Secretary General launching his Our Common Agenda report and so on, so that just gained all the more momentum. And we have been engaging very much with young think tankers of our network. In fact, last year, Southern Voice had worked with young think tankers from its network within Global South, from Nigeria, Uganda, Sri Lanka, Brazil, as part of a policy brief series. And one of the policy briefs were talking precisely about this particular issue, which the contest is founded on. That is the collaboration between the young think tankers of the Global South. So we did a survey for the young think tankers of our own network to find out how the young think tankers, to find out basically what's the current state of affairs, and also their aspirations, if there is an appetite for more collaboration. And yeah, the results were astounding, that there is as little collaboration happening, and there is a great amount of eagerness and willingness to collaborate more. So that basically was the motivation behind the contest.
Great. I think that's sensational. Now I know our judges are going to come back and they're going to give us who the winners are. But for you, what has the process been like putting the event together?
So, like, as you started talking about when you introduced me, that it takes a village to put and execute a contest, and it really holds true in this case as well. The process was long, but it was really worth it. And since I was involved in it from the beginning, it involved like a great degree of coordination from all ends, like from the conceptualization stage, the team which was responsible for designing the contest, for coming up, curating the call for applications along with our partner OTT, and the communications team, making sure that the content is user friendly and it's easy to understand, doing all the promotions on social media and so on. And the administrative team doing all the coordination work, maintaining the regular flow of information between the contestants and the judges and the secretariat. So it was it was a long process. We had many brainstorming sessions, so many discussions on what should be the call looking like? Is it relevant for young think tankers or not? What is a young think tanker? How should we define them? What is a Global South? Which countries should we include? Which are not essentially part of Global South? So all these questions led to such long discussions, and we really had to, take some decisions on those definitions, because these are not very clear-cut concepts. So those were the challenges also in a way, but we are here, so all's well. That ends well. Charlie, you're on mute.
You would think I would know how to unmute. Okay, I see that there's a bunch of conversation happening in the comment section about meals and food and all this great stuff, which is great. We love that our YTTs are getting to know one another. But on a personal level for you, Gitika, what is a lesson that you will take away from this experience?
I guess the first is, of course, teamwork. That without teamwork, and for teamwork, I think communication, I learned that communication, fair and transparent communication, and communicating as frequent as you can with your team members, with your partners, with participants, to ensure that there is no confusion anywhere. That is key for any event. For this event particularly, I think I learned I was not looking at it from just one point of view. I was trying to capture, to look at the larger picture, because like I was coordinating with comms, I was coordinating with the partner, with the participants, with the judges. So yeah, looking at it from a bigger picture, and yes, ensuring transparency and fairness. So maintaining the integrity, because it's a competition. So we really tried hard to maintain that degree of fairness and keep our personal biases, if they have any tendency to creep out. So to keep them at bay. Like even when we were doing the review, we tried to switch it over, like within the teams. If I'm from Asia, I will not rate for the Asian candidates, and so on. So to maintain a high degree of fairness and integrity to the competition, I guess that was the main takeaway for me.
No, that's amazing. I mean, obviously working with you, I know the amount of work that you put in. I do have one last question, and that is, if you had one last thing to say before our judges return to the contestants, what would it be? What would you say, just overall looking back?
That all of the finalists really did well. I have seen I've seen all your proposals from the initial state, and looking at them now, it's a learning curve for you as well, I'm sure. And it's been great knowing you all, and I look forward to keeping in touch with all of you as Southern boys, not just me. I mean, even if we have like 3 winners at the end of this contest, we would really like to maintain this this contact and collaboration for future with all of you. So please keep in touch, and all the very best to all.
Yeah. Yes, and that goes for everyone. Be sure to keep in touch. If you haven't yet, you can sign up. Coming up ahead, Guitar, I will say to you, congratulations. I know how hard you worked, and I wish you nothing but the best. I think our judges are about to return. I'm pretty sure our judges are about to return. So as we await them, I think I'll ask one more question to a young think tanker, someone I haven't asked already. Oh no, I see our judges. I see that they're here. Okay. Okay, I think it's time to announce the winners. I see the judges have returned, and the winners have just been made known to me, so I will do the honors of announcing them. Okay, so our first winner that we'll be meeting in Kenya is from Asia. And that would be Aziza Fauzi. Congratulations to Aziza.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the judges.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your fellow contestants?
Wow. I would like to say thank you so much to Southern Voice. Thank you for organizing this event. It's been a pleasure knowing all the panelists. They have shared such great ideas, and then I have learned a lot from this pitch as well as the mock pitch that we did a month ago, I think. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope that we can keep connecting. Yeah, I'll share my LinkedIn after this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations, congratulations. I'm giving you a round of applause. All right, I can't wait to meet you in Nairobi. Our second winner, we have someone from the African region. Funnily enough, his name sounds a lot like region. It is Regan Mugume. I hope you're still on the call. I know that you're in the field, Regan, if someone can pull you up, if that's possible.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Regan. You are our second winner of the contest.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's such an honor, and it's such a privilege to have been selected. I want to thank you for the guidance that you have given us, all the contestants. I thank you so much, Southern Voice team, for really being so helpful to us and for uplifting us. I would like also to thank all the contestants because we were able to sharpen each other, and we look forward to more collaborations. I'm so humbled and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Charles, and the entire Southern Voice and the judges. I thank you.
Congratulations, Regan. We'll meet and I'll congratulate you in person. And then we have our third and final winner who will be joining us in Nairobi at the conference. He is also from the African region, and his name is Ibrahim S. Bangura. If we can pull Ibrahim up. I don't see your face yet, but I'm giving you a round of applause. Hey, there we are. I think you're on mute though, but if you have anything to say.
All right. Yeah, I'll just unmute myself. What can I say? I want to say a very big thank you to all of the judges and the fellow participants for working on this on the ideas, and this is it's a pleasure really to be selected and to be part of the 3 finalists. I'm so happy and to represent my country. Oh my goodness. This is so great. Thank you so much.
Your happiness is making me happier. This is amazing. Oh, that's wonderful. To everyone, we thank you from all of us here at Southern Voice. From me as moderator, I'd like to thank the judges. I see all the congratulations are pouring in, but there is no way you could have 3 winners without saying to everyone that put all the work in. It has been such a joy. It's been such a ride for all of us. There's definitely more work to do. We value you as young think tankers. And I do believe I'm the one that has to say the final word before we close this session. So I think it's best in the same order that I announced them to thank our judges, starting with our guests, Ms. Sophia Borges, Ms. Gabrielle Andele-Kele, Dr. Vakar Emid, Mr. Enrique Mendizabel, and Ms. Andrea Ordonez. To them, we say thank you for the insight that you've put into this competition and making it such a great success. To all the teams within Southern Voice and also at On Think Tanks who partnered with us on this. We cannot thank you enough. To all of you at home for watching, be sure to sign up to our newsletter. If you're at home, happy trails. If you're not yet home, please get home safe. Thank you for this contest. It'll be a success the next time we do it around. And thank you for making this one a success as well. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.